runway within that period of time that we are negotiating on.
Okay. Lastly, Chair, I want to know if there are any tax exemptions that Adani have requested.
CEO, don't help me here so that I don't keep consulting.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Yes, in their proposal, they had indicated that they would want some tax holidays, but the position we've taken is that in the event of such an application, let it go through the due process. So no, they have never been accepted on that. We've now migrated it to the due process.
I wish you would use the language of the CS. Is that a deal breaker or not?
We never made it as a deal breaker. We migrated it, we ring-fence it to the due process. So it is up to the government to accept or to reject.
Okay, lastly, Chair, listening to the CS, very lastly, listening to the CS, you would think that what they are trying to do is to set up a coffee shop at some corner of JKIA and that operations will continue. Because I heard you when you asked what percentage of land they are taking up. Isn't it a fact, CS, that this proposal is to take up the entire management of the entire airport? You are not setting up a new duty-free shop at a corner somewhere. They are taking up the entire JKIA from management of the, what did you call the aeronauticals, to parking, to everything, including the employees. Why are you creating this impression that you are hiving a small corner for them somewhere to do operations and that KA will continue with management of JKIA? What is the correct position, CS?
Let me take some water, PS.
Thank you, Ziren. Thank you, Chair.
Kitu ni ngumu bwana. Kitu ni mbaya.
Senator Nyoka, you're out of order. What the proponent wants to come and put up is clearly illustrated. A new terminal, a runway based on trigger, refurbishing the existing terminal and establishing what we call the rapid exit taxiways. Now, this will need to be decided. Are we putting up 140,000 square meter of terminal? Are we putting up 100,000 square meter of terminal?
That's not the question.
JKIA has 11,000 acres. If the proponent would want to come and put up, hotels in the city side, they will follow up the KA land lease policy. We are not giving out the entire 11,000 acres.
That's not the question, Chair. The question is management and operation of JKIA as an airport.
Yes.
From the aeronauticals to the parking areas to all the businesses that are going on there, who is going to be doing that management?
Yes, Adani is an operator, and that is why the model is build, operate, transfer. They will be running the JKIA.
Everything.
Yes.
That's what you should say. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
I hope he's still in the shape that you wanted it to be.
Senator Zifuna is a learned friend, so you wanted to cross-examine. So I don't know whether Senator Chirchir would want to do the same, or you want to give your questions and then you wait for answers.
Yes, I will ask questions and wait for answers. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I am surprised and shocked. And I think if the CS who is seated here before us today was the CS then, I know and believe you wouldn't have agreed to this consent. I come from a nomadic community, and in the nomadic community where you also come from, you cannot bring a goat. We normally do butter trading. You cannot come with a goat and expect the other person to give you a camel. Once that happens, you will just say, no, I will not even talk to you. And I want to tell you today, Honorable CS, the deal initially, when they proposed to invest $1.8 billion. And that is 234 billion shillings. Honorable CS, the land and property value today is at 1.1 trillion shillings. What Adani wants after 30 years is 18%. So that means they are taking land plus properties on those land for about 18%, which is what they've invested initially. And I don't understand. Why are you even negotiating? Because after 30 years, after making a lot of profits, they want 18% of our land plus property on that land. Honorable CS, Ethiopia, they're building a new airport. This airport is costing $6 billion, and it will accommodate 100 million passengers. It is 40 kilometers away from Addis Ababa, a place called Bushoftu. So I want to ask you, Bwana CS, kindly, why don't you cancel this deal? Because it stinks to the core. I give you an example. And I want you to do this mathematics. Adani comes from India and then gets 18% of our property, of our land, and everything we possess, and take it to India. Why should you accept this? Tell us. Why even negotiate? That's my question. Number two, you've talked about the issue of Adani. There is a report by Heidelberg Research Institute that says Adani is a con. And I don't want to list it down. It's about 20 issues. It talks about Adani itself, and it talks about relatives. Almost 8 of them, how they conned people, how they conned even taxes. So, Honorable CS, I don't mind these people investing here, but my question is, why did you even decide, the government decides to even negotiate with them? Because the initial program, if I look at what they've given, they'll just tell them, sorry, come up with something good. You are sending people to India, you are sending people all over. So tell us why. The other last issue, Honorable CS.
Thank you.
Let me finish.
The last one, and then you'll be able to respond.
Please kindly, CS, call the president, talk to him, advise him, tell him this deal. Kenyans don't want this deal. This is a fraud, and it's a fraud just like Goldenberg, and it's a fraud, Anglo-leasing, and a fraud like the cooking oil. Edible oil. Yes, edible oil. That is being now dealt with. So, Bwana CS, for the love of this country, please advise the president. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Chair, I think it's unfortunate because Honorable Chute's submission is based on wrong information. That Adani is requested for 18% residual after 30 years. That is not true. There is no request for 18% residual equity ownership of the airport after 30 years. It reverts to the government of Kenya 100%, and I'm on oath, Honorable Chute, through the chair. There is no 18% residual. We can come back again and again because, like I said, it's a negotiation process, but there's no 18%. The 18%, which could have been kind of carried, is in the initial proposal, they did ask for 18% return on equity, 30% equity they are putting in. And I think today we've negotiated, we are at 16%. 16% return on the 30% equity investment. There is no 18% residual equity ownership of the airport after 30 years. That is the straight answer. Thank you.
Okay. We were waiting for Senator Omtata. Yeah, you'll be the next one.
Okay.
Yes, Honorable CS, it's a pleasure to meet you for the first time. I never engaged with you. And I would like to thank you for honoring the summons of the committee. Some of your members sometimes give us troubles coming here, and so I'm most honored for that. Now, I would like to begin from your document, which you gave us. That's your response. That's paragraph 3, where you say the proposed concession is anchored in the Public-Private Partnership Act of 2021. That statement locates these proceedings in that act. And my question is, under that act, do you have the locus to answer any questions? Who is the cabinet secretary anticipated under section 2 of that act? That's my first question. Secondly, I would like to reiterate what the chair stated in passing, but it's a fundamental issue that your documents are crafted in a language that says that the Adani deal is done. We will, we shall, we are. It's already concluded. I don't know why you are giving the impression that this deal is I want now to take you a PPP works. And I put it to you that you are trying to mislead the Senate. This step 1 to step 20 and so forth is not how the PPP Act works. First of all, the PPP Act does not oust the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act, which provides for direct procurement, privately initiated proposals, restructuring, restricted bidding, and competitive bidding. You have told this committee, in answer to Senator Ladema's question about those detailed sketches and what have you, that is the government which gave out that information to attract investors. I want to read for you a definition in the law of what the PPP, what a privately initiated proposal, that's under section 2 of the Act, means a proposal that is originated by a private party without the involvement of a contracting authority and may include information that involves the complete evaluation of the proposal as if it were a bid. What you are telling us does not conform to that standard. And I would require the minister to sections 40, 41, 43, and 44 of the PPP Act to underscore what I'm saying. And I would also want to refer the minister to part 7 of section 68 of the PPA Act 2021 on the establishment of the project company that states. You have told us here that you are negotiating that the CEO of that company should be a Kenyan. Under the law, when you get to that stage, what does the law say? On the execution of a project agreement, the project contracting authority and successful bidder shall establish a project company in accordance with the Companies Act. So if you are at that stage, it means this deal has been concluded, according to the law. Yes. And you are trying to run circles around this committee, which is not acceptable. I move on. Jomo Kenyatta International Airport is a going concern. Correct. And the objective you have given us here is to expand the airport. And therefore the project is initiated by Kenya Airports Authority and cannot be privately initiated. Thus, the project cannot be procured under section 40, 41, 43, and 44 of the PPA Act. This particular contract, if that's the aim, should be procured through the section 46 to 63 of the PPP Act. The use of privately initiated proposals here raises a red flag that all we are confronting us with is concealment of fraud. And this might be a major case of money laundering, where a public project is being used to repatriate money that has been stolen from Kenya in the guise of developing the airport. I want to add on, Chair, if you allow me some time. I spent a bit of time reading through the document.
All right.
So, the use of this PPP in the Adani case is fraudulent. The process does not meet the requirements of section 40, 41, 43, and 44 of the Act. And given time, I'll jump through some of the things I wanted to say and just go to the key issues. I would like us to look, if you look at section 40, section 41, I'll go to 41, I'll jump 40, I'll go to section 41. Yes, 41A has an express requirement that you have not fulfilled. It requires that the directorate, in coordination with the contracting authority, shall before commencing an evaluation. You are telling us an evaluation is underway. You are even doing due diligence. But the law says, before commencing an evaluation of a privately initiated proposal, you shall conduct due diligence to confirm that the private party has not been debarred by any country or any international organization from participating in public-private partnerships or similar arrangement, is not corrupt, has not engaged in acts of corruption, and has not been sued or convicted on account of acts of corruption. It's a requirement of the law. Before you touch anything they propose, it is supposed to, under 741, you have to demonstrate that the group is tax compliant in all jurisdictions where it has operated or operates. You go on and says, the entity has not, and its directors or officers have not been convicted of any criminal offense related to professional conduct within a period of 5 years preceding the submission of proposal, and have not otherwise been disqualified pursuant to administrative suspension or debarment proceedings. So, all the things that I mean that I will try to highlight out, but just to leave it up with the time, I would have expected you before you began addressing this Honorable Senate, Committee of the Senate, to first of all justify why it is you, the Minister for Transport, who is answering matters on PPP. The letter was addressed to Mr. Mudavadi. At that time, he was covering the entire cabinet. Who was the minister responsible who should be answering these questions? Is it you or the Minister for Finance? You are a stranger in these proceedings. The minister to answer these questions, the Minister for Finance, not you. You are not recognized in law. And so, secondly, I would have expected the answers to begin by showing that there was this due diligence carried out and the Adani was cleared before the government went further to begin looking at them. Secondly, there's a requirement in the law that you must prove that competitive bidding could not give as a bidder. It must be that Adani is bringing something so unique to them that you must go the PPP way. If competitive bidding can realize the same result, you are supposed to do competitive bidding. Where is the proof that only Adani has the technology or the whatever to expand an airway or the capacity? So you needed to justify that public bidding was ruled out. The default for public procurement is competitive bidding. So your initial suggestion that the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act was like sidestepped by the PPA is not true. The PPA is just stands on the Public Procurement Act to advance its course. So I put it to you that you are trying to scam us in your response. You have no standing to address this committee, and I would ask the chair to demand that the Minister for Finance, who is the entity recognized by law under the PPP, comes to address this committee on the questions you have asked. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Before I give CS the opportunity to respond, it's good to note that the CS is properly before this committee. This is a committee of transportation. This is a committee that saw it fit to look into this issue of Adani because the public is a matter of public interest. And we invited the CS to appear here to shed light. If we find the gaps, nothing stopped this committee from inviting any other person. And probably you have seen some gaps. So nothing stopped this committee from inviting anyone. But if you remember very well, maybe you are not in when I was making my opening remarks, I asked the CS, he was supposed to be accompanied by the Director General, Public-Private Partnership, who is Mr. Christopher Kiregwa. Yeah. And I also asked that yesterday. So, and I said we are going to deal with that issue at the tail end because I didn't want to chase the CS away because it's a matter of national interest. So this is another character that we are going to discuss as a committee because we have invited the Treasury. We had actually invited the PS for Treasury, but we were expecting the Director General of Public-Private Partnership, who is actually the one who is supposed to answer all these questions. But the CS saw it fit to come before us because he understands our role as a committee, and I should thank him for appearing here. But having said that, Bwana CS, briefly, because it was Senator Omtata took us through the law and what the law says. I would want you to comment on Senator Omtata's remarks or contribution. I did not hear the question, but I would want to hear your comment on that.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Senator Omtata, for the question. As regarding the due diligence that ought to have been done before commencing the exercise. My written response does say an initial due diligence was done, Chair, so it was done. It is not true that it was not done. If you go to my first page of my document, I did say in paragraph number 3, starting with currently we are processing through the stages outlined in the PPP framework. We are in the detailed due diligence phase while also negotiating the proposal submitted by Adani. Initial desktop due diligence was done by KAA and the PPP Directorate before commencing the evaluation. So it was done. As regarding the procurement process, I'm not a lawyer, chairman like Amutata. I thought he was, sorry. But I've just been referred very quickly to Section 4.2 of the PPP Act, which does say the provision of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act shall not apply to a public-private partnership. So I don't know whether we're reading the same law, the same act. And if you go quickly to section, which other section was this we wanted to refer to? Section 40, which basically talks to a contracting authority may consider a privately initiated proposal submitted under subsection 1, which is a private party may submit a privately initiated proposal to a contracting authority, and the authority may consider a privately proposal submitted accordingly. Chair, let me basically say, for big infrastructural projects, like I've said earlier on, you basically as a country are seeking big investments. And it's one thing to market your country, to develop your infrastructure. Other countries, like somebody said, Ethiopia is developing 100,000 passenger terminal. 100 million. Ethiopia, Uganda, sorry, I've got some numbers here. Rwanda is just developing its airport that will have a capacity of 14 million passengers at 1.3 billion. Just to talk to the issue of cost, we are asked many times, why are we spending 1.8 when Rwanda is spending 1.3? The capacity for Rwanda is 14. The capacity we are developing is 23. Ethiopia is developing 100 million passenger. But more importantly, look at the competitive aspects of Kenya being that anchor state, when we do enjoy the benefits of what I said earlier, geolocationing with Mombasa Port, that we should not be competing with Ethiopia, who do not have the benefit of having a seaport. And therefore, we need to ensure that by sea, by air, by road, we are competing. Whereas our fiscal headroom cannot allow us to build a new airport, which we should have built some 15 years ago, a new airport. We need a new airport, and it is incumbent upon us to really suit investors. If, for example, in my last trip to China, which is a China-Africa kind of forum on China-Africa cooperation, we are marketing a number of infrastructure projects like roads, and we are saying, how do we open up our road to Malaba from Nairobi, from Mombasa, and so on and so forth. So to be able to attract that kind of investment, Chair, you need to give investors information and to be able to make informed decision to come to Kenya and not to go to Ethiopia. Let me rest. I don't know whether there's a very specific question which I didn't basically address from.
Maybe you can address that clause again that you talked about. The PIPs are not subject to.
I've just quickly been referred to Section 4.2, Chair, which does read the provision of the Public Procurement Act Asset and Disposal Act 2015 shall not apply to a public-private partnership. So we basically have to prosecute the privately initiated proposal in line with the PPP Act. I think the biggest challenge, Chair, we are facing is that we have not really employed often the PPP Act, or not many projects have succeeded through the PPP procurement process. And then therefore, some of the challenges we are facing because of non-disclosure, there's a lot of negotiation in the process, is lack of information. And in Section 42 of the same PPP Act, it does read, a contracting authority may consider a privately initiated submitted under this, under one, which is a privately party may submit a privately initiated proposal to a contracting authority. And that is what Adani did. Thank you.
Okay, and when you're there, just go to 41. No, the same section 43J that states the privately initiated proposal under subsection 1 shall contain the following information. J states a justification why the project is not suitable for open competitive procurement. Yes. I think on that one, that's why that's the area. That's why we feel that Adani's proposal is the only proposal that we should go out with. Why not for competitiveness? Say we have one proposal, but before we consider this, we are going to invite any other person out there who would want to come up with their own proposals.
Chair, I'm advised we satisfied ourselves that there was good justification why the project would not be suitable for open competitive. I think you're talking about the kind of investment we are looking at. Investors who look at various aspects of investing in various destinations. And yes, I think we can give that justification why we think the project, or why we satisfied ourselves that the project was not suitable for open competitive.
Point of order, Chair.
And that's why we're still insisting this Mr. Christopher Kiregwa, the Director General of Public-Private Partnership, should be here. I don't know whether it's before maybe the end of this session. We should have him here. I know. Okay, so if you can contact him, but I have Senator Sifuna.
Yes, you remember me asking the CS when the policy of government changed. It must have been at that point where he says he found justification for abandonment of an open tender system. So can he confirm that he is not just speaking ad lib, that there is a document? Yes. A document by government justifying the departure from, in terms of policy. And also, Honorable Chair, let us remember the provisions of Article 10 of the Constitution. Article 10 inserts the participation of the people at the point of policy formulation and a change of policy. So that, Honorable CS, if indeed government was abandoning this path, having found this justification, you needed to involve people and tell people that going forward, if we are discussing expansion of JKIA or any other national infrastructure projects, we are going to go the PPP way. So that policy change, Chair, we have to locate it in time and the process. Was it a cabinet decision? Who made that decision? And how were the people involved in the decision making?
Yes, yes.
I thought we had agreed that all members ask questions, then supplementary at the front.
Oh yeah. I just allowed, because that one was so close to what I was saying.
A point of order about Section 4 that the minister referred to. It refers to a PPP agreement not being subject to the other act, not the initiation of a procurement. this act oust the other act at a certain stage of the procurement process, the agreement, and you have seen they have given a very elaborate procedure of how getting that agreement position.
All right. Noted. CS?
Chair, as regarding the change of policy and why, I think the question is still why Adani and whether there was change of policy. I'm trying to locate where there was this feasibility study done and which informed us accordingly. PS, can you assist me very quickly?
Thank you, Chair. We, as Kenya Ports Authority, we did a feasibility study for JKIA. That was after doing the National Aviation Policy and the JKIA Medium-Term Investment Plan. This feasibility study informed that the JKIA requirements for investment amount to $1.63 billion. We received a PAP of a proponent willing to invest close to $2 billion, and we satisfied ourselves that we can move as guided by the Act. Yes, the competitive bidding could have taken place. We start with the request for qualifications, and you go to the second stage of request for proposal. It is a lengthier process. Right now, JKIA has a capacity of handling 7.6 million passengers per annum. Last year, we did 8.2 million passengers. That's why you see the long queues. That's why you see a very infrastructure that is really stressed out. And we made a decision to go and admit the PAP.
Excuse me, Chair. I would like to ask a supplementary question on the PS, please, in relation to what he has just answered, because I believe, Chair, that is actually not the question he was asked. Did the Kenya Airports Authority PS do an analysis, feasibility study, do a financial analysis, do an evaluation with the critical sector industries and critical players to make sure that that report, which would have made it possible for us as the oversighting team, should be having it in this list that the PS presented. That list is not here.
Yes,
so, Chair, I want you to look at this issue by accepting that that agreement, that feasibility study doesn't exist here. The feasibility study we have is been done by a company called ALC, and ALC is not a Kenyan company, and this is why we have these challenges.
Chair, is there the feasibility study on policy? Because you talked about the policy, but I see but a PS, before you clarify that.
What you are saying, please, is very important.
Yes.
But I want PS to tell us the problem with a management problem. That is what you should know. If you've done that, you should have known the problem is financial or management. As I said, we talked about Ethiopia Bole. Ethiopia, they 17 million passengers, 2023, 2024. We carried 8 million passengers. And the profit they're making US dollars in a year, same year, including Ethiopia Airlines. So the problem we have, is it financial or is it management? Just tell us.
The expression of interest, because that question was asked from that policy.
Chair, the feasibility report that is attached was done by the proponent as per the Act, as per the PPP Act. But JKIA also did its own feasibility report earlier, and it was concluded in February. And that is also an attachment, and it was done by ALG Consulting Group, which is a Spanish consulting firm. And it is part of the attachments that have been submitted today.
Chair.
So, put to the point of order. Chair, there's a question from
the question. The other question by.
There's a question on, is the problem financial with KA? Yes, it is. KA makes around 4 to 5 billion a year. If we are to plan for an investment of 200 billion Kenya shillings.
Excuse me, Chair. The PS is misinforming the House. KIA makes 19 billion shillings a year.
Let's
He's misinforming the House. It's in this report.
Yes.
So why are you saying 6 billion?
I'm talking about the net. We make 19 billion, but I'm talking about the net, having taken
the net, the profit.
Thanks for the clarification.
We make 19 billion, but I'm talking about the net, having taken
the net, the profit.
Thanks for the clarification. Thank you.
The last 24 hours, the allegations we are having that the Swiss authorities have frozen the Adani Group bank accounts of 310 million Kenya shillings. Waziri, why don't you cancel this deal as of today before you walk out? And I know the president will understand. Number two, what is the consequence in case this deal is brought or halted today as you walk out from here before close of business 5 p.m. Kenyan time? Secondly, your former colleague before the House in November last year, Kipchumba Murkomen, there were two Chinese companies, and Wu Civil Engineering Group and China Aerotechnology Corporation called CATIC, were given an award of 55 billion to build 178,000 square meters terminal, which was designed by Pascal and Watson of London. The information I have is that the government, after the deal was poached, the government paid 4.7 billion Kenya shillings. What is the position on that matter, Waziri? Number three, under the PMF Act and the Constitution, why would you prefer privately initiated investment as opposed to open tendering process? Is this a case of money laundering by individuals that want to launder money using this investment at JKIA? Number four, this PIP by Adani Group of companies, is it only on JKIA, airports or airstrips, including Karenga airstrip in Chirchir, or is it only JKIA restricted on build, operate and transfer model, Waziri? Number five, I've heard you talking about stakeholder. Stakeholder engagement does not mean public. Even Article 10 of the Constitution, public participation involves even people who are not aware there is an airport or aeroplane. Is it in order for this committee, and what will be a comment, to indicate that public participation was never done as per envisaged by the Constitution? And finally, Chair, I'm happy Senator Okia Okoitio Mtata has raised a question on the legality under Public-Private Partnership Act. The reading of that act is that this deal is anchored on quicksand or fraud, pure manipulation, conmanship, self-aggrandizement, greed,
Grand theft,
and corruption and larceny and lethargy of the people who want to perpetuate illegality. Chair, you know, when witnesses appear, they assume senators are busy from reading. Although we did Kipchoge 159 in reading documentation, it is out of curiosity that in the board minutes of care, this will be my conclusion. Yes. It is out of curiosity that in the board meeting, there are glaring concerns by the board. Either it was ignored, either it was not dismissed, or some big boy somewhere were playing golf and decided that KA board meeting minutes does not matter. In the observation in this minute 60715 of 2024, consideration of the projects, I will read one paragraph in the interest of time, that KA that the proponent can generate its target revenue. I think that's Adana Group. It was observed include our brother, the acting MD, Mr. Henry Ogoye, it was different quarters in government, making it difficult to advance that the acting, and we would want to know later, Chair, as a supplementary, why Ogoye engagement through which, who are these interests, such as money laundering? The question, so in their own minutes, Chair, they, and even within government itself. So Waziri, looking at this minute in time, looking at these minutes, either KA was ignored, either Ministry of Treasury was ignored, and I hope, Chair, as you rule, the Minister of Treasury should also appear. Minister of Treasury, the PS and the DG. Of course, DG, Mr. Chair, should be frog-marched by the IG, yes, because he has defied this committee, Chair. So the question is, there is no common position on this matter.
Should be fine.
So, Waziri, is it in order, as you walk out of this place, to cancel and call off this fraud by Adani Group? That is on page, members, Chair, I think people are looking for it, is page 4, the last attachment of Roman 4. We took a lot of time running about Roman numbers, but it has never helped us in life. But then Roman 4 of that minute, Chair. So if Waziri can Waziri kindly cancel this, as Abraham Lincoln said, this is our government for the people, fight the people, and for the people, do what the people want. Cancel this deal and we end this charade. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Banasias.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. I think we all agree that Kenyans need a new airport. I don't think that's in doubt. I don't think the questions about Adani that we are prosecuting is to, I guess, part of the, will help us to go through the public participation, information positive, information negative. We do more better due diligence, but ensure that we do not lose, we do not throw away the baby with the bathwater. It's important, Chair, that this is not an investment that you are investing some few Kenyan shillings. It's a very big investment, and would wish to all be working together to seek for way forward on building a new airport, and therefore they must be properly answered. Because, Chair, I did spend time in the beginning to show that the process, the PPP process, is basically an on-off, what is a negotiation process, and you don't negotiate by send it over to the PPP secretariat. We come back, work with our transaction advisor, respond to those challenges. Another democracy, or another democracy, we are like many other African countries. You would be attracting the kind of questions we are receiving from the House this morning, and that in the minutes was that, should we be using senior management, shouldn't we have a bit of an elevated committee to seriously focus in a year to ratify some approvals? We don't get into a situation where the board doesn't quite understand this transaction. That is what that item, it was observed that the project has attracted interest from different quarters in government, making it difficult to advance common position as the government. The board sought clarification as to whether KA management had internal committee with KA position on all aspects of the project, and it was reported that decisions were being undertaken by KA, represented by general managers responsible for procurement, finance, human resource, JKIA legal representative for P. The committee recommended that KA should ensure strict so it was basically being elevated to give the level of attention and even as the full board is advised, there is a focal point in a committee of the board that basically fully understands this transaction, and therefore the kind of hard questions that we are being asked, and which I do indicate as minister that we take them very positively. We need to interrogate, we need to get to the bottom of our due diligence. It is not like we are the rich boy in town with all the money to be able to build an airport. If you check those minutes, it does also recognize the fact that JKIA does not have capacity to build a new airport, which has been articulated by the PS from the bottom line, 19 billion revenue. There's an expenditure of 13 billion, 11 billion, and therefore, if we were to build an airport with own source revenue, we'll be doing it in 50 years. The airport we have, Chair, is let me stop there. It's becoming narrative. But more importantly, yes, all the information, negative, positive, will help us to really ensure that we do a thorough due diligence, and it is a process ongoing now. To the extent, Chair, that we cancelled the deal. We don't have a deal. We're just negotiating. We just negotiating. We don't have a deal. Absolutely. So,
Point of order.
Thank you very much, CS. Maybe before I go to that, because I have a written submission here from a colleague, it's also good just to highlight because he has done a lot of research. This is a written submission by Senator of Mandera, Senator Ali Roba, who, as you know, is also a former pilot. So probably he's well traveled. And there's a document I'm going to current pilot. Okay. Istanbul Airport, Turkey, BOT. Indira Gandhi International Airport, India, 30-year concession, extendable by another 30 years. LaGuardia, 5-year lease agreement. So in other words, nobody is really fighting investors and BOTs. What we are trying to do is the processes. And he highlights down here, which I'm going to read, that after even giving the benefits of BOT model for JKIA, that is access to private capital, risk sharing and innovation, economic growth and connectivity and all that, he argues, while I advocate for the BOT model as an effective strategy for the expansion of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, I must express my strong opposition to partnering with the Adani Group for this critical project. This position is based on significant integrity concern associated with the company. And he goes on highlighting the three. Let me just read the headlines. Integrity concerns and financial misconduct, regulatory scrutiny and controversies, potential reputational damage. He has even given a recommendation which the committee will go through when we retreat to write our report. But from this, I will ask only one question. Since the ministry or the PPP, the director of PPP or the KAA have not done due diligence, what if when we retreat to write this report, we were to resolve that we do that work for you by summoning Adani to appear before this committee? What would you be say? Yes.
Thank you, Chair, and you have rightfully really brought out the fact that we consume all this information to help negatives, but to the extent that a due diligence, certain rules of engagement in terms of how some of these things are, you would not be having the ministers serving the country from where we sit today, if you were to do that. Equally, maybe if you did one of information in the due process, appear before the House as we are appearing. We all get involved, not just in shooting down an investor who could end up helping Kenya, and we end up really saying, look, we don't care whether we have a road in northern Kenya, we don't care whether we have power. We need power for our people. We are leaders. We need to provide service to our leaders. Let's critique, like we are doing constructively, and get to the bottom of some of those negative information using credible source of information. We'll demand information credibly, and we'll take them through the due process and confirm. But let's not also act like there are so many investors willing to come into Kenya. If there were, we will not be struggling with the capitation for schools today, with the challenges in our universities. We need to put social investments into health, education, and the areas we need to put. We don't have a headroom.
Each and every senator a minute to give closing remark. Remember, we are collecting views, collecting documents so that the committee can again sit down and scrutinize every other document so that we can give a report or resolution as per the committee. So members, let the CS complete.
So just to finish and straight answer that question straight and clear, since we are doing due diligence, we'll basically have that information submitted by Senator Ali Roba, and I can assure you, Chairman, it will form some of the fundamental questions as we go through the due diligence to satisfy ourselves that is Adani a suitable investor or concessionaire to build an airport for us or not. And to a very good extent, Chair, if Senate was to use that information to say, then we all become part of the negotiating team. So allow us to run through the due process with that kind of information that can be volunteered to the committee. And when we come back to the House, we can be able to articulate and answer what we found out and why we decide to go forward or not. When I said we shall, it's not because there is a deal. Those are deal breakers. If the shall doesn't work, as a government, we must get this and we must get that. Those are deal breaker requirements, then we don't have a deal. So it's not that the deal has been done. We must get certain fundamentals right to be able to protect job security, to be able to ensure that our airport remains competitive. We are not just charging too much service charges at the airport and therefore giving away the opportunity, tourist opportunity to Ethiopia, to Tanzania and other countries. So, Chair, the shall is a question of the deal breakers that we must get. And if Senate feels like we should also have more deal breakers in this deal that we should negotiate, let's allow the negotiating team to use those deal breakers to make or break as opposed to breaking it when they have not said no. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I think now we have to give closing remarks.
Chair, I think I have.
Senator Onyonka, you stood on a point of order, so I thought you have commented.
CS, thanks for coming. And as I said yesterday, as my classmate, I hope that whatever we say here, you'll deliver it to the president. Needs to listen to what some of us have been saying. First of all, Chair, I'd like to make a special statement from myself that it was not easy for me to get information about Adani. This information the young man sits in one of the investment companies in France, and he saw these documents pass on his desk. When he called me, the information that I was speaking made me, first of all, get worried about himself, because as you realize, Chair, I actually publicly have stated that the information Nelson Ameh has given me as of 3 days ago is that he has found some people who are following him in France, and we have been talking to some people to create a safe haven for him so that he can be siphoned out of funds. That's how delicate and personal this matter is to some of us. So, CS, I would would like to, if you come across any of your friends who have been participating in this thing, tell them to leave Amenya alone. Tell them what we are trying to do is discussing issues about either we accept that Kenya is going to be a country of public good or is going to be a country of private good. And what we are saying is that we have information that we are going to table here, and I will tell you my CS. Some of these things are shocking, completely shocking. I would like to ask you, you can answer or you can keep the information and answer me before. Chair, I will start with asking the CS. Do you know somebody called Jayesh Saini?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. How do you know him?
I think he's in the health industry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Would I be wrong if I said that Mr. Jayesh Saini is the one who has actually been given the transaction of managing our SHIF, which is the new development out of NHIF, because he's the owner of Nairobi West Hospital, and he is the one who is actually been given the complete system of the financial management of the SHIF.
Point of order. I would want, Senator, we restrict ourselves to the mandate.
I think you're wrong. You're wrong, Chair. There's a reason why. You have to allow me to interrogate the matter. You must allow me to interrogate the matter to its logical conclusion. Then you can make a ruling.
And when you get out of the rail,
I am not. There's a relationship between the corruption that is happening with the Adani deal and what Mr. Jayesh is doing.
Because
Mr. Chair, don't get keep for him. Please don't.
No.
Don't get keep for him. You are going the wrong way, Chair.
Senator Onyonka, just 1 minute, please.
Yes.
It is quite possible that there is somewhere that Onyonka...
There is a nexus. I'm trying to create the nexus. Allow me to make my case.
Senator Onyonka, allow him. Just let me explain something, Chair. It is possible that there is somewhere that Senator Onyonka is driving at.
That is where I'm going. Just allow me to go where I'm going.
Onyonka, you're out of order.
Yes, he's not listening. And I'm trying to...
Your SG, I'm telling you now, you're out of order.
No, Chair, can you protect Senator Onyonka? Because if now Senator Sifuna invokes the power of being an SG, he might chicken out from pursuing...
No, I'm on the mic to just guide the Chair.
Yes.
I was saying it is possible there is somewhere in terms of nexus, you allow him to, and I don't want to use his aviation analogy, let him land the point. Let's see where he's going with it. Just give him a little bit.
I was afraid of getting out of context and losing Kenyans, because the issue we are dealing with is the issue of the airport, JKIA. So I thought he has lost his
Chair, I am giving you
by talking about health.
There is a nexus.
I was just trying to bring him.
Allow me to set it up.
Okay, now ask your question.
The question I'm asking, I asked him, does he know Jayesh Saini? He said yes. Allow me to interrogate him.
Okay. Continue. You have.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
CS. Would I be wrong to say that Mr. Saini is the agent of Adani in Kenya? The answer is yes or no. It's up to you.
I'm not aware.
You're not aware. Are you also aware that meetings that took place in Dubai where this deal was being discussed, Mr. Jayesh Saini was sitting in that meeting with individuals from the Kenyan government, and I will state here that the person who met Mr. Jayesh Saini in Dubai was Honorable Murkomen when he was the minister in the position you are in.
I am not aware.
Without having evidence that I can prove, but I think it's important that I make the statement that in that meeting that money exchanged hands. And Chair, later on, I believe as we continue, these details should be presented to this House. The second issue I wanted to ask the CS, in your understanding, I want you to go to where Honorable Chirchir was. You go to page, Chair, we start with the consideration of the project progress. Minute 6. I want you to go, Chair. And your MD of KAA, could answer this because it directly involves him, but again, it is under your jurisdiction. A PPP project is considered other the following factors: value for money, affordability, commercial value, manageability, and acceptability. The PIP by AHL was submitted on the 1st of March. The evaluation report submitted to the PPP committee on the 8th of March.
Response, an initial desktop due diligence was done by KAA and the PPP Directorate. So to the extent that you are just getting information desktop from the internet, from which airports they have built, like what we've gotten from the letter from Senator Roba, that could be done in a day.
You've not answered my question, sir. This report, I repeat it to you, please, I'll be very slow. The PPP project is considered under the following factors: value for money, affordability, commercial value, manageability, and acceptability. The PIP by AHL was submitted on the 1st of March. Please write that date down. Question I'm asking you.
I think, Chair, what we're basically saying is PIP, privately initiated proposal, has been submitted to JKIA on that date. You could just submit.
You agree that they actually did feasibility and finished. The report you've given me in your clarification means if you clarify certain individual, and this comes immediately after somebody had 136 billion shillings for a period of 35 years or whatever it is. Did it occur to you, Bwana Waziri, that when people in government have an interest in this matter, what did it mean to you? Because we didn't know. So I'm talking to you as a
diligence that you visit, you answer the kind of, you look at all the details, and by the time you reach stage number 20, it will possibly be a procurement cycle that is taking a whole year. So to the extent that we are employing PPP for mega projects because we don't have the kind of outlay capital to invest, somebody's possibly asking also in KAA, why not competitive PPDD process and so on and so forth. But this is just stage 2 of the 20 stages, Honorable Chair.
CS.
But let me allow.
CS, just a minute.
Yeah.
Through the chair, Senator.
Through the chair, thank you, Chair. CS, that's not what I asked you about. You are a cabinet secretary in government. You have gotten a document that has been written by a board. Let's assume this board is Sony Sugar. And members of the board tell you, you want to hold a PPP exercise in this factory. We are uncomfortable with it because we have received information that some of your government officials and people, big time players in your government, have an interest in that matter. What does that imply
Let me
Just on a
just,
point of order, Mr. Chairman, that question was asked to the CS, and the CS is the one who took an oath. If the acting managing director wants to answer, he has to do so with permission from the CS. But you cannot just jump in.
Is well advised?
It is, and the CS should allow you to take the microphone. But I understand you don't understand, so we accept that. CS, can we proceed?
Feel free to direct any member of your team to assist in answering questions.
I'll do that, Chair. I think to the extent that we've received a PIP proposal to basically build an airport that we've been deciding to build for 13, 14, 15 years. If I received a PPP proposal today for Moussa Bironi, I'll possibly be trying to push it within the next 1 week to ask ourselves, is it true that somebody can build for us this road? It's not something that I want to sit on in my office. I'll possibly be talking to everybody and saying, we have this proposal, can it work? And therefore, depending on the agency, there could be interest. There's no question about that. But I did say, Chair, that I've just gone back to my step 1 to step 20, to the extent that even if the board was sitting to consider this, there's a whole due process, that including why we are appearing in Senate today. Difficult questions, some of the simple questions because of lack of information. Satisfy everybody that the due process must be followed.
The question I wanted to ask, Chair, is very simple. Who delivered the report, the evaluation report, and how was it delivered to whoever that received it, the proposal?
Can the question be made clear in terms of, is it the delivery process? Or
you see, there is about how the board met, and in a period of 30 days, there was everything that was taking place, and that was geared towards producing a report to justify and prove why this is a very good deal. Who delivered that report, and when did they deliver it? And how did they deliver it? There's a reason why I'm asking that question.
Yes, you want to assist me on this, but the more I think about the 30 days, I think they took so long. If we really needed an airport, if you receive that today, it would be out of.
I'm looking at the documents you gave me. You are the one who gave me the document.
Point of order, Chair. I think the CS should give us, should respect our intelligence. We're not talking some nursery school kids. Respect our intelligence and address us as adults and address us as senators of the Republic of Kenya.
Are you addressing Chirchir or addressing the chair?
I'm addressing.
I think the best thing for us to do is that on a CS, when a question is directed to you, just be direct to the point and to avoid, and answer if you know the answer. I say I do. If you don't, we are lenient as a committee. We can always read between the lines. So kindly, and also it's also good for us to know that we are governed by the standing orders, and I'm really withholding, invoking some of the standing orders, like standing order 105, which is a statement of facts whenever we are interacting with this department or with this issue. So let's restrain ourselves to the issue at hand, which brought us to this committee. By so doing, we'll be able to get answers. And that's why, initially when we started, remember we were giving every senator about 3 minutes, so that you ask your questions and you get response. So the moment you bring this kind of interaction, you will have point of orders, and we might lose the points that
Chair, I actually nearly want to agree with you, but let me tell you why I'm cross-examining this.
No, proceed with
the reason. Please allow me. There's a very good reason I want to do that.
Chair, You know, yesterday I said something about the CS Chirchir. He's one of the few people, out of my interactions with cabinet secretaries, and you know I have a very low opinion of the cabinet, but he's one of the few who is usually very forthright. So, Honorable CS, I am, you remember I owe you something. Congratulations. Please don't get derailed. I need you to be the same forthright person. If something is wrong, Honorable CS, the CS that I know, will say it is wrong. And it was not you. You are not there. Yeah, so throw people under the bus if you must, but you must retain.
Onyoka is scaring him.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. He's my former year mate in the university. We love each other. We've spent quite a bit of time together. I'm just trying to make sure we get the truth about this. The next question I want to ask, actually, Chair, through you, is not to the CS. I want to ask the gentleman who has been acting. And you said your name is who?
Henry Ogoy.
How long have you been at the airport?
Since 2006.
Since 2006. Please allow me to interrogate this. Chair, I would like to present this document to you because it's a public document. That is the report that was done by Honorable Kosing under the Hansard, and that report, very, very fortunately, Chair, our deputy chair was in that committee. My current deputy president, Honorable Gachagua, was in that committee, and the other person who was in that committee was Honorable the Solicitor General, Mr. Mose, Shadrach Mose. Why do you think the report which came 2018, and it was saying that we cannot give our airport under the PPP arrangement, why did the committee make recommendations that that should be stopped? And when did the government change the policy? The same question that Honorable Sifuna is asking. For us,
the Asset Disposal Act, which provides for direct procurement, privately initiated proposals, restructuring, restricted bidding, and competitive bidding. You have told this committee, in answer to Senator Ladema's question about those detailed sketches and what have you, that is the government which gave out that information to attract investors. I want to read for you a definition of in the law of what the PPP or what a privately initiated proposal, that's under section 2 of the Act, means a proposal that is originated by a private party without the involvement of a contracting authority and may include information that involves the complete evaluation of the proposal as if it were a bid. What you are telling us does not conform to that standard. And I would require the minister to sections 40, 41, 43, and 44 of the PPP Act to underscore what I'm saying. And I would also want to refer the minister to part 7 of section 68 of the PPA Act 2021, on the establishment of the project company that states. You have told us here that you are negotiating that the CEO of that company should be a Kenyan. Under the law, when you get to that stage, what does the law say? On the execution of a project agreement, the project contracting authority and successful bidder shall establish a project company in accordance with the Companies Act. So if you are at that stage, it means this deal has been concluded according to the law. And you are trying to run circles around this committee, which is not acceptable. I move on. Jomo Kenyatta International Airport is a going concern. And the objective you have given us here is to expand the airport. And therefore the project is initiated by Kenya Airports Authority and cannot be privately initiated. Thus, the project cannot be procured under Section 40, 41, 43, and 44 of the PPA Act. This particular contract, if that's the aim, should be procured through the Section 46 to 63 of the PPP Act. The use of privately initiated proposals here raises a red flag that all we are confronting us with is concealment of fraud. And this might be a major case of money laundering, where a public project is being used to repatriate money that has been stolen from Kenya in the guise of developing the airport. I want to add on, Chair, if you allow me some time. I spent a bit of time reading through the document.
All right.
So, the use of this PPP in the Adani case is fraudulent. The process does not meet the requirements of Section 40, 41, 43, and 44 of the Act. And just given time, I'll jump through some of the things I wanted to say and just go to the key issues. I would like us to look, if you look at Section 40, Section 41, I'll go to 41, I'll jump 40, I'll go to Section 41. Yes, 41A has an express requirement that you have not fulfilled. It requires that the directorate, in coordination with the contracting authority, shall before commencing an evaluation. You are telling us an evaluation is underway. You're not even doing due diligence. But the law says before commencing an evaluation of a privately initiated proposal, you shall conduct due diligence to confirm that the private party has not been debarred by any country or any international organization from participating in public-private partnerships or similar arrangement, is not corrupt, has not engaged in acts of corruption, and has not been sued or convicted on account of acts of corruption. It's a requirement of the law. Before you touch anything they propose, it is supposed to, under SEM 41, you have to demonstrate that the group is tax compliant in all jurisdictions where it has operated or operates. You go on and says, the entity has not, and its directors or officers have not been convicted of any criminal offense related to professional conduct within a period of 5 years preceding the submission of proposal, and have not otherwise been disqualified pursuant to administrative suspension or debarment proceedings. So, All these things that I will try to highlight out, but just to leave it up because of time, I would have expected you, before you began addressing this Honorable Committee of the Senate, to first of all justify why it is you, the Minister for Transport, who is answering matters on PPP. The letter was addressed to Mr. Mudavadi. At that time, he was covering the entire cabinet. Who was the minister responsible who should be answering these questions? Is it you or the Minister for Finance? You are a stranger in these proceedings. The minister to answer these questions, the Minister for Finance, not you. You are not recognized in law. And so, secondly, I would have expected the answers to begin by showing that there was this due diligence carried out and the Adani was cleared before the government went further to begin looking at them. Secondly, there's a requirement in the law that you must prove that competitive bidding could not give as a bidder. It must be that Adani is bringing something so unique to them that you must go the PPP way. If competitive bidding can realize the same result, you are supposed to do competitive bidding. Where is the proof that only Adani has the technology or the whatever to expand an airway or the capacity? So you needed to justify that competitive bidding was ruled out. The default for public procurement is competitive bidding. So your initial suggestion that the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act was like sidestepped by the PPA is not true. The PPA stands on the Public Procurement Act to advance its cause. So I put it to you that you are trying to scam us in your response. You have no standing to address this committee, and I would ask the chair to demand that the Minister for Finance, who is the entity recognized by law under the PPP, comes to address this committee on the questions we have asked. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Before I give CS the opportunity to respond, it's good to note that the CS is properly before this committee. This is a committee of transportation. This is a committee that saw it fit to look into this issue of Adani because the is a matter of public interest. And we invited the CS to appear here to shed light. If we find the gaps, nothing stops this committee from inviting any other person. And probably you have seen some gaps. So nothing stops this committee from inviting anyone. But if you remember very well, maybe you are not in when I was making my opening remarks, I asked the CS, he was supposed to be accompanied by the Director General, Public-Private Partnership, who is Mr. Christopher Kiregwa. Yeah. And I also asked that yesterday. So, and I said we are going to deal with that issue at the tail end because I didn't want to chase the CS away because it's a matter of national interest. So this is another character that we are going to discuss as a committee because we have invited the Treasury. We had actually invited the PS for Treasury, but we were expecting the Director General of Public-Private Partnership, who is actually the one who is supposed to answer all these questions. But
explaining how they have treated the other
Okay,
proposals.
explain that very quickly.
I think it's fairly straightforward. If you refer to the heads of terms, which 12.4, which basically defines the concession fee, and where the head of terms, though non-binding, has brought out what has been kind of agreed, we will be able to answer Senator Onyoka's question. Page 20.
Chair, through you, Chair.
Yeah, proceed.
I would like to state that a permanent concession means that in case we sign this agreement and Adani does not make any money whatsoever, or if anything goes wrong, then we will have to pay that money depending on what it is on a yearly basis, whether they make a profit or not. Mr. Boya, am I right or have misinterpreted this agreement?
Okay, Honorable Chair. As you may be aware, we run a network of 22 airports. Among them, JKIA is the major operator. When we are concessioning out JKIA, the other airports have to operate. And to meet that requirement, we need a concession fee from the concessionaire. When they submitted the proposal, they made a proposal that they will be paying KA on annual basis $47 million to take care of other requirements. In the negotiation, we negotiated up to what, $50 million, and it is resident in the heads of terms item 2.4, which my honorable CS has referred to, 12.4.
So, Chair, and you are comfortable with that figure?
We are comfortable with this figure because what this figure is supposed to do is to help us repay the outstanding loans, run the operations of the other facilities, over and above the revenues which are being generated.
Why was the loans which we have not included in the list that you on that concessionaire clause? Because we know what the airport owes.
What we've done is that this...
Just hold on before I finish through you, Chair. And if the airport reached a stage and the debts were paid, who would be receiving that money?
This money will continue to be received by KA because KA is also...
I told you that there is a section of this agreement where actually at some point KA is going to have to relinquish the responsibility of running the airport.
No.
Which you agreed to.
Honorable Chair, there is no day KA will vacate the management of JKIA.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Now, the next question I want to ask here, because I don't have a lot of time.
2 minutes.
You know a company called CS. I am a bit uncomfortable because you are not there, but I'm sure because of institutional memory, your teams would most probably, the company called LG that is providing the evaluation and analysis, the financial, how was it recruited? Did you advertise for this job?
Yeah, let me put it like this, Honorable Chair. LG is the one which advised the government. Yes.
Excuse me, Chair. Answer the question. Don't tell me the story of what LG does.
For the feasibility study,
whatever that was
we
done,
are the ones who recruited LG.
Did you advertise for them to be recruited?
We never,
according to the procurement law.
What happened was that, and that one.
The answer is yes or no.
Give the MD an opportunity to answer you.
Yeah, these are yes or no. When you see somebody's lying,
yes,
they will start telling you
mathematical. I mean,
I just want him to say yes.
Give him
tendering.
That's the way I've given you an opportunity to ask question. Give them a chance to answer question.
Honorable Senator, we want you to inform the public, and therefore we have to give you the right information to inform the public. What happened was that way back in 2022, LG did the National Aviation Policy and Medium-Term Investment Plan for the government of Kenya under the directorship of the PPP Directorate. Because the report was high level, we wanted to have a detailed feasibility study. So we rode on their institutional memory and the fact that they had data. So we recruited them directly to do for us the feasibility study.
Chair, help me.
You got your answer. They recruited directly. Next question.
You did direct procurement for a company that is going to do an evaluation and giving an history, and that is going to tell us the evaluation of our right?
We saluted the law to the letter.
You didn't follow the law. So I come to the next question, Chair. There's a reason why I asked that question. When
you decided that you are now going to actually bring in Adani, and they're supposed to be running our airport, and there are other things that they are going to do. When you brought in AIG to come in and these discussions are going on, did you feel there was a necessity for you to start engaging the stakeholders, particularly the workers of the airport, and including the business interests and the people who are running the businesses at the airport? Did you conduct feasibility studies before you and Adani could sit down so that you get the direction the public is thinking, or did you decide that the public was not needed in making that decision?
Yeah, it for us a feasibility study upon which we got the numbers now to engage. Now, in terms of engaging the workers and the other stakeholders of the airport, we were not in a position where we had the concretized information which we could now discuss with the concerned stakeholders. And that's why we waited for the heads of terms to be ready, things cleared, so that we have something which we can discuss, which we can share with the concerned stakeholders. I submit, Chair.
So through you, Chair, there was no need to call these people. After all, as far as I'm concerned, AIG is basically an illegal entity that has been conducting exercises without authority. So I will come to the next question very quickly, Chair. You have mentioned that there was no any other private organization or company that gave a proposal for them to also come in and participate in the PPP exercise. The answer I'm going to ask you, my leader, is very simple. Did you receive any report from any other company making a request that they also would want to participate in this exercise?
Honorable Chair, the only PIP we received was from Adani Airport Holdings, but not from any other party. PIP.
Through you, Chair, did you find that normal? That one company, let's assume we are, I am a senator, and I want to
and they're also receiving about 60 aeroplanes from the Qataris. What is it that Adani is giving you? They are not building. It's like one of these scandals that we lack manufacturing in Kenya for us to siphon all funds because these things. Could I be wrong if I assume that this is one of the biggest con jobs that the Kenyan public has ever witnessed?
Chair, as the accounting officer, we are dealing with the documents which have been brought to us, subjecting them to the due process and making a determination within the law. The arrangement in Rwanda is based on joint ventureship. I don't know the one in Ethiopia. But at the end of it,
And you tell your grandchildren that is the best you could have done.
This is very useful engagement, Chair, and what we've been able to do today to answer that question directly is to doing the due diligence, and a lot of questions that are being asked today are relevant questions that we need to put on the table and get satisfactory answers on behalf of the people of Kenya, come to Parliament, go through the due process, and therefore, even as we do the due diligence on this investor, they are not bringing some little money to Kenya to invest. They will do due diligence on us, and where this deal, as we go through the due diligence and the stakeholder engagement, is not find it not fit for them as they do the due diligence on us. So, in line with the law, the PPP Act, which we have spent so much time indicating have this engagement that we have not had before, unfortunately, to be able to bring everybody to speed, bring Kenyan to speed, and ensure that we do go through every stage and satisfy ourselves to the extent that the executed everybody, and that's why it will go to the AG for legal opinion, it will go to the portfolio of oversighting, and will be available to provide any information at any time as we go through the due process. Chair, thank you.
Thank you very much. I think,
Chair, I would like to conclude in just 30 seconds. Closing remarks.
Closing remarks.
Thank you.
Use your closing remarks, yes.
CS, I have a message for you, because you've been my friend for many, I think 35 years. I have high regard for you. You know, notice I've never had issues with you. Please tell the president this is a bad deal. He can reconfigure it. He can get a better company which has got respect, which is respected globally. If he can't get Emirates or Qatari, he can get Etihad. We understand that they're bilaterals. We understand, you know, I worked in foreign affairs. We know that there's certain arrangements and agreements the president can sign to benefit the country. Please tell him this thing is a stinker. Let's do it within the law. Kenyans are really upset with what is going on right now. And please, whatever you saw happening at that airport, don't take it for granted. Those people are very, very upset. Their lives are in jeopardy. You're talking about 5,000, 6,000 people. Nobody knows what this agreement is. Simplify it. Bring it to this committee. Give them a program. Tell them, look at this agreement. This is what we are looking at. Who would say no? If you come and tell me, like Rwanda, we have resuscitated KQ with 50 or 60 aeroplanes. We have paid the debt that KQ has. You are going to pay our workers who are destitute in that airline, and you are setting up Nairobi to be a hub. Which airline are you going to use to build the numbers that you want? We don't have an airline. You haven't solved the KQ problem. I beg you. that this is a matter that Kenyans have taken very seriously. And thank you, sir, for listening to us.
Thank you very much. Let me have Senator Sifuna.
Thank you, Chair. In closing, Honorable CS Chirchir, I'm sure by now you know that the problem with the government in which you serve is not a communication problem. It is a credibility problem. Nobody trusts this government. And even with your best intentions, you have to work to restore the credibility of the government and public trust in the government that you serve in. Number two, if you can see, the reason why there's a trust deficit is not an accident. Your own minutes from KA, as we have been taken through here, have identified the fact that there are many competing interests, and they have to be vendor-driven interests within government. So Kenyans have every right, Honorable Chair, to be suspicious of this deal. Thirdly, Honorable CS, let me disabuse you of this notion that there are stakeholders in JKIA or in our airports distinct from the people of Kenya. The stakeholders in JKIA are the 55 million of us. You cannot have a small meeting somewhere in a corner, then claim that you have had conversations with stakeholders. Stakeholders in this particular case are the 55 million Kenyans. And the fact that there was a lack of disclosure, and I think the committee will be making a recommendation that we make an amendment to the law on PPP. Immediately somebody arrives at your office, Honorable CS, with a so-called privately initiated proposal. Within 48 hours, you must disclose that that email has come to your email account. Otherwise, you are not going to be able to move forward with this. There are serious integrity concerns with the company itself, and of course, with the government that is proposing to go ahead with this particular project. Honorable CS, you know what happened to the finance bill. You know the sort of furor that it brought about. I can compare the objections to the Adani deal to that where we were with the finance bill. At this particular moment in time, even with your best efforts, and I know you are a very, what is the word? Yes, you are somebody who puts in effort, but I can assure you, CS, it doesn't matter how you explain this deal, the people's mind is made up on Adani. Please abandon this deal. We will lose nothing. Go back to the position that had been taken by cabinet, as expressed by the then Transport CS Murkomen when he appeared before the Senate, that we will put out an international expression of interest. Let this process be above board in the development and upgrade of JKIA. This PIP model is not going to be available for the government of Kenya. Put it out there in the public. Let people apply. Let the process be open. Let everybody see what proposals are coming from where. I do not agree that they are not many people who want to invest in this country. The reason why people are afraid to invest in this is because of these games and shenanigans that we are playing within our own governments and systems. We are the hosts of JKIA. All of us are stakeholders, but the people of Nairobi have told me to say no to this deal. Therefore, I want to urge you very strongly. Cancel this thing. You will not, even with your best efforts, be able to convince anyone in Kenya today that this is a deal that is above board. Let us go back to public procurement when it comes to this particular deal. I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Sifuna. Senator Ledamo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My friend, CS Davis Chirchir, you should be in the front line rejecting this deal. Even if it has some deal makers over a barrel, being forced to do things whether they like it or not. We live in Kenya, and Kenya is a country where people are given incentives to be able to champion certain things which even if they know they are not good. And that's what I mean being over a barrel. We have screwed up our constitution. We have messed up our legislation. We amended the Public Finance Act and made it easy for brokers to be able to come in and lobby for certain projects. This deal stinks. I want to plead with you to abandon it. If you look at the proposed capex investments, it goes in stages. We're a country, we're an industrious nation. I suppose we can definitely raise $99 million to be able to put up a runway. We can be able to raise $624 million to be able to put up a terminal. And if there's any airstrip for $92 million, we can actually be able to do that. I know right now, I've just received a text message from a very good friend, an international deal maker. And he said, Adani is pissed off. And his message to me was like, Senator, be careful, Adani is pissed off. We do not want to be held hostage. This is a country that we fight so hard for. This is a country that we expect to leave it for the future generation. And I plead with you, as someone who I know is forthright, if Kenyans don't like it, leave it. Let's leave it. You know, O.J. Simpson, the lawyer in O.J. Simpson trial once said, if the gloves don't fit, you must acquit. So in this case, Kenyans all over have said, we do not give a hoot in hell about this deal. Leave it. Leave it. I know for a fact that when people get into government, they line their pockets. If you consider their wealth this year and next year, you will know that it is because of incentive. That's why their wealth has grown. This is a country that has got all instruments, and it's got all the operators to be able to carry out that serious due diligence. The Gen Zs have sent a very strong message. We don't want June 25th to be able to revisit us again. We have to learn, and that is the reason why, even if I'm not a member of this committee, I was in this committee today, because this deal stinks like hell. So I request you to abandon it. Let us go gradually, slowly by slowly. If once we do, analysis, and we look at our hierarchy of needs, we see that what we really require right now is what do you call it? Not an airport, but a runway. I'm pretty sure, even if we cannot afford, and even if we are not magnanimous enough to give money, we can offer an structural bond, and people will gladly invest in it. So, Mr. Chairman, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Ledama. Vice Chair.
I'm here. I would like to. I'm here.
Let's have the Vice Chair.
The Vice Chair.
Let the chair to speak after me.
As you go.
Yeah, thank you, Chair.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's fine.
It's okay. It's okay. Thank you, Chair. Chair, let me say, just like the rest of my colleagues, that the verdict of Kenyans on the Adani deal is that there is no deal and there should be no deal. And we are privileged to be here, Mr. CS, to deliver the message to you according to the wishes of Kenyans. It will be incumbent upon you to either respond in the affirmative or otherwise, but choices have consequences. Thank you.
Senator Omtata.
Yes, Honorable CJ. Yes. So I'll take you to Section 40, Clause 3, and I would ask the committee that before you retreat to write your report, the Cabinet Secretary should comply with the Section 40, Clause 3, Paragraph J, and produce justification why this project is not suitable for open competitive procurement. Cabinet Secretary, please provide that justification which the law requires as a precondition for going into a PPP. Honorable CS, also five at Section 40, 1, Clause 1 of the Act, it requires you to establish an evaluation criteria for the proposal. I would also request that this committee be served with the evaluation criteria which was established to deal with this proposal. I'll also go to take you back to section 4, which you quoted as a justification for not complying with the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act. That section is very clear that that act applies if there is counterpart funding. And I would ask that you clarify to the committee if the government of Kenya is providing in funding, and what is the status of the government of Kenya entering into direct and substitution agreements with the lenders. I would also persuade of listening to the CS, his argument is that the end justifies the means. And I would like to tell the CS that in Kenya, the end does not justify the means. There's due process, there's rule of law. You must pursue them because even the Auditor General, under Article 229, Clause 6, audits government entities for lawfulness first, then effectiveness second. So as for the reference you keep on making, there was a desktop evaluation. The law does not require superficial evaluation, and there's no provision in the law for evaluation twice. The evaluation is done once, it is thorough and complete. So I would request that the committee be supplied with that evaluation report. These things of reference to the desktop and whatever is nowhere in the law. If it was an evaluation, it's an evaluation that was well done, that's comprehensive and complete. Let us have that evaluation report supplied to the committee. And then finally, as regards to your continuous plea to necessity, it is necessary, it is necessary. I want to give you a quote of what was said on the floor of the House of Commons some 300 years ago by William Pitt the Younger, who was a Prime Minister of Britain twice. He said, necessity is the plea for every infringement of human freedom. It is the argument of tyrants. It is the creed of slaves. In Kenya, we have a democratic government. We don't allow tyrants. And we are citizens. We are not slaves. So please observe the law. There's no option for this government but to observe the law. And what you have presented before us is an attempt to overthrow the lawful dispensation of this country. We are going against the constitution. We are going against the laws of this country. And even your 20 points that you are giving here in your return is cherry picking. You have chosen those parts in the law that seem to justify what you have done and given them as 20 steps. I would urge this committee to reject these 20 steps as being a corruption of the law and an attempt to mislead this committee, and demand that the minister complies 100% with the law. And finally, Chairman, I pray that the committee summons the CS for Finance, who is the custodian of this act, so that we can give him appropriate questions. I'm not a member of this committee, but given the enormity of the issue that was before this committee, I've left everything that I was doing to be able to be here. And I would love to meet the Minister for Finance because I've got issues with the way the things I've done, and I'm very, very clear in my mind that CS for transport does not have the standing or the capacity to answer those questions lawfully so that they can go on record lawfully. He's a stranger to the exercise. I fully appreciate the decision of the committee to apply to invite him as maybe in charge of transport, but he is not the custodian of the PPP Act. We would like the custodian of the PPP Act to appear before this committee so that you can give him the heavy lifting we want to do with him as regards the Adani scam. Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. I think before I make my closing remarks, we have Senator Chirchir.
Thank you, Chair. Mine CS is use this platform. In my opening remarks, I said there is a viral young man who is viral in Facebook saying airport imeuzwa kwa mwindi. Can you just the takeoff as encounter turbulence? Just about the takeoff, Bwana CS, by ensuring that end these negotiations. This thing is becoming ugly, it's becoming chaotic. Just tell the country that there is no deal, there is no negotiations, and we are not objecting the building of new airport or improvement of other airports and airstrips across the country. Finally, Chair, the information I have, in fact, the United States of America government is in confidence that if Adani does the takeover of JKIA, we might lose even our flights direct to New York, Chair, that is normally scheduled per week, and this will hinder our standing among the international communities. So as you go back, Bwana CS, you are not there. This is not your baby. This looks like, and it is corruption that it needs to be stopped. Allow Adani to do other airports in other parts. He's not the only one in the world that he can do that, Chair. Let us get a new investor, and we are not objecting to the bill to the airport being constructed. Let it come clear from this meeting. We want a new airport, but we want the due process of the law to be followed, Chair. It is as simple, and value for money, lawfulness and effectiveness, Bwana CS. And even as Kenyans today, I quoted Abraham Lincoln. He says the government is for the people and by the people. Give Kenyans what they want. Just use this platform, courtesy of the Chair, call off the deal. Let's go back, Chair, because they say in conclusion, Chair, if it looks like a duck and sounds like a duck and quacks like a duck, it could be a real ugly swan of corruption. Let the Adani be called off. This still call off today. Let's begin from a fresh slate, because Kenyans, even from Nandi County where I come from, they don't want this deal. Not because we have an airport next to us, but because it is the national strategic security infrastructure and we cannot risk. Chair, with those many remarks, I thank you, and I hope when the CS of National Treasury will appear and the DG, in fact, Chair, under Powers and Privileges Act, as you rule on the DG of PPP, he should be summoned and fined and frogmatched by Inspector General of Police to appear before this committee, because this is the contempt of your committee. This committee has quasi-judicial mechanisms of the High Court. With those, thank you, Chair, for having us who are friends of the committee and giving us, Chair, some of us, if we don't speak to some of these issues, we cannot sleep because Kenyans keep calling us throughout the night. But see, le kuzalamiwa agency, but in good faith, they really want to know. Chair Waziri, and as you go back, please, in future, if you have such enormity infrastructure project, kindly give us information early enough so that we don't deal with disinformation, misinformation, and fake news in some of these issues. We wish you well, and we hope you will do better than the former incompetent colleague, because alikuwa anapenda mchezo, tukapeleka yeye kwa mchezo. Asante sana. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Chirchir. Bwana Waziri, you have heard from the members. Members of this committee, friends of this committee, but all members of the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. Mine, as I conclude, so that I can give you a minute so that you can also give your commitment, is to tell you that we didn't have to get to where we are. If probably there was no whistleblower, maybe we'll be discussing something different. So, and it has been in this committee, make sure the young boy is protected. and make sure that no one is doing any harm to the young man who whistleblowed this one. And Bwana CS, what has come out here, if there was proper communication, and I repeat that again and again, we wouldn't be here. Kenyans would be with you, because no Kenyan is against the PPP. No Kenyan is against the BOT. No Kenyan is against any investor in this country. The problem is not the deal. The problem is the wheeler dealers, as I had said earlier. So, Bwana Waziri, carry the people with you in these processes, because we are a country that is led by the rule of law. Carry the people with you. When they say stop, you stop. Because if you run, you will find them at the finishing line. So, as we retreat as the committee to write a report, there are things that we will be internalizing. We will require more documentation. We will even require more input from the people, because as it has been said in section 43J, that there must be a justification why we cannot do this deal competitively. We will be looking into issues like, do we resolve as the committee or the Senate that you re-advertise and invite other proposals? That is something that we'll be pondering. Will we say no Adani in this country? Those are things as the Senate will be looking into. Will we even decide if the deal is, you said, Bwana Waziri, in your submission on question 1, no concession agreement exists. And you also said, if you were to close this deal, not close, if you were to do away with this deal, Kenya will not lose any money. All right? At least we are happy to hear that. So probably, as we go along in retiring and writing this report, we'll be looking at that issue. Also, Chair, Bwana CS, on step 17, that is when the concession agreement is signed and a copy sent to the AG for his records. We'll also be looking into that issue in the sense that whether we get to that, because you never know, I just don't want to anticipate. We might get there, we don't know. But whether we will be requesting before the signing is done, that document is made public. So I believe that those are some of the issues that we'll be looking into. We'll also be requested to summon the CS Treasury. I would want to see him and to appear before this committee. So those are some of the things we are going to be looking into, and especially the DG, Directorate of PPPs. So having said that, let's all remind ourselves that we are working for the people of Kenya. It is going to go down in history that I was the chairman when the Adani deal went through. Would I want that? You will be the CS, will be down in history, the PS, and also the DG, KAA, the CEO KAA, and the Senate of today. So I believe we are doing this for the betterment or for the sake of our country. So, and I also ask people, we should not just rush to be the fake news peddlers as well as the disinformation agents. Let's all of us work together to understand what is this thing for our country. Then from there, we move together as a team. So thank you very much, Bwana CS, for coming. It's now, what time is it now? Because it's almost 2. It's almost 2 p.m. and you came here at 9 a.m. You were here yesterday. You committed yourself to be here. And I want to join other senators. Nobody has lost hope with you, Bwana CS. Everybody is actually saying they see you, they think of you, they want you. So please, in your dealings with this deal, do not at any time disappoint Kenyans. So we give you 1 minute or 2 to also give your commitment. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, for guiding. I want to confirm, like Nairobi Senator is not in, let's say, probably have a communication, maybe a credibility problem, and we do not want to get international investors digging down into the credibility of the country where we start a process and we drop it halfway. We will allow us, like you've guided, to follow the law, to be available to Parliament, to basically carry everybody along. Like I did indicate earlier, we've given these documents to the union because the way PPP has not been employed to procure the small procurements that government affords every day. It is not a very usual procurement that succeeds. And we are all frustrated with the PPP Act in that nothing almost seems to go through the PPP process. And therefore, that is why we are not able to implement the big infrastructural projects which government cannot afford. So as to whether we need to relook at the PPP Act to make it work the way the PPD, the Public Procurement and Disposal Act works, is something that we need to look at. As regarding the concern of public participation, you do know, honorable members, that we've come to the House to seek all of us to redefine the scope of public participation, because you also don't want, when you pass a bill into law, Finance Act 2023, you are told you didn't do enough public participation. What is enough public participation? Because it's a democratic space, and whereas 40 million Kenyans could say we think we are happy, and 10 million says we didn't, it becomes a challenge to be able to move the country forward. And we'll appreciate if that public participation bill within the House, which is currently the House, could be expedited, so that even when we say, you can see one member say, when you receive a PPP, give it to us within 48 hours. We gave it out within 30 days, and it seemed like it was rushed. And therefore, it is really important to define some of these processes and see, particularly at this stage in time, how PPP can work for us as an anchor state, so that we do have an infrastructure that can support the region. I have had members, we will follow the law, we will observe the law, we will do the right thing by ensuring that if you submit the kind of representations that we have seen here today, and it helps us to have an exit, or to have better understanding for Kenyans as to the need to build a new airport, then we will make the right decision. The due process is such that Senate can oversight at any time, and you can call us at any time. And like you called us and called us again today, we'll provide the information. But members, let us make decision based on information. We've submitted the information today. I personally believe you need to further internalize with that information. Request for more information will submit. Give us information as you receive from the public that can help all of us to make the right decision. And I want to assure you, like has been canvassed here, we will do the right thing, we'll follow the law, and we will submit to the directions of Parliament. But let us really not be that country who get investors down midway and say, Kenyans say, we don't like you. Let's really, because we are in the due diligence and all the challenges and the fact that the process is not being employed, like I've said severally, to the understanding of Kenyans, provide that information to help us to make the right decision. I thank you, Chairman, and I think you're well guided. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think this brings us to the end of this session, but it's good to clarify that we had invited I'm missing his name every other minute, Christopher
Yeah, that is Christopher Kiregwa, who is the DG PPPs. And we cannot wait for too long before giving this report. So having that in mind, he should appear before the committee the next sitting session, which is on Tuesday. Because for him, he has been invited before, so we do not have to give him the 7 days grace period that we give when we're inviting people. So for him, just to appear before this committee and meet this committee and answer a few questions. Then after that, we'll make a decision on when to invite the CES Treasury together with the PS Treasury. So members, any other business? So there being no other business, this sitting stands adjourned until Tuesday, 17th at 11 a.m. Thank you very much.
Senate hapa tuko sawa. Yes, yeah. Una tremia hapa. Hapa sasa Senate.
Develop and implement these action plans, we've had to create a framework that we call a multi-stakeholder forum that brings together government, civil society, academia, and the private sector to identify the problems, to propose solutions, and most importantly, to put the place and mechanisms to address those challenges by implementing the action plan. So allow me to focus more on the multi-stakeholder forum and what we've been able to achieve. So this, as I've said, it brings together different actors of a co-created, collaborative, and inclusive process. And over the last 11 years, we've been able to make policy and legislative recommendations. We've been able to develop tools that facilitate access to information and public participation, courtesy of institutions such as the Commission on Administrative Justice and Article 19, we've come up with model laws and capacity building on access to information. We've been able to develop open portals to enhance open contracting. But most important, in the course of this implementation, we've built a multi-stakeholder forum that continues to be an envy across the world. We are amongst the first countries in the world to have a parliamentary caucus on SDGs that signifies just how important legislative and policy development are to enabling open government partnership. We are also the first country, amongst the first country, and I believe the only country now that brings together the three arms of government in OGP, judiciary, the legislature, and the executive, but also the highest number of open OGP local, the counties at national level. We currently have 6 counties that are members of OGP local, and Your Excellency, allow me to say that during the recent call for applications, we had a record number of 7 counties applying to join OGP local. I think we deserve a bit of recognition for that. Our early adoption and expansion of OGP local has also ensured that the multi-stakeholder co-created space does not just exist at national level, but also exists at the county level. Another big achievement has, of course, been peer learning and exchange programs. And as countries across the region, Ghana, Malawi, Morocco, Sierra Leone, and others have been keen on joining OGP, the Kenya Multi-Stakeholder Forum has provided this leadership and model that other countries can embrace. Inclusion and diversity, expansion of the actors. I dare say we were among the first people to start talking about a broad-based multi-stakeholder forum, which is what we've been implementing for the last 11 years or so, because we have women, we have young people, we have counties, we have national government, we have academia, we have private sector, and over time, increasingly, as you go through the 5 action plans, you'll see that the number of actors continue to expand, signifying just how important this is to enhancing transparency and accountability. Your Excellency, we recognize that across the world, there are issues that continue to face governments, continue to face private sector, continue to face academia and others. And key amongst these is the issue of declining public trust. We need to bridge the gap between citizens and governments, citizens and civil society, citizen and media, citizens and academia. And the OGP platform provides this opportunity to not only trust build, but also enhance youth inclusion, transparency, and accountability, and as well as meaningful public participation. I think some of the challenges that we face now is because in some cases citizens feel that they're not being listened to. We believe that by ensuring that all voices are on the table, OGP provides that very powerful mechanisms. And so without taking too much time, I'm not going to call upon Mushiri to take us through the 9 commitments. And again, take this opportunity to thank you very much for your support, and to also thank the development partners here present that have made this work possible. Without their support, we wouldn't have done this, and the government support. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this is Kenya's most ambitious action plan ever. We are looking at a 5th action plan that is as responsive to the realities that we are living in, like no other action plan has done before. So your leadership and that of the civil society partners and others who've been part of this, including input from the general public, is to be credited for this document. So maybe I shall start with the first commitment in action plan, which is a brand new commitment that made it into the framework in this 5th action plan, and that's our commitment on climate action. As you are all well aware, this is one of the largest crises that is facing our planet, and we are seeing the results of that in our own country. So promoting participatory development and enhancing transparent monitoring of conservation interventions, making sure that the data and the technologies that are being used are responsive is a big part of this commitment on climate action. The next commitment is on digital governance. Your Excellency, this administration has been very ambitious in rolling out digital services. We now have thousands of digital services rolled out by national government agencies as well as county governments. This commitment seeks to put in place the enabling environment to ensure that we have inclusive, secure, trustworthy digital services and that are supported by the right policy environment. And this is also a brand new commitment within the OGP action plan framework that the country has been implementing. The third is the open data for development commitment. This is the third time that we are rolling over. It has had some commitments before and some milestones have been achieved. This is led by the Kenya Space Agency, so we have strong support and strong presence from the Department of Defense, which is a new institution within the context of OGP. And we have a lot of commitments that really strengthen the proactive disclosure of data, especially around budgets, expenditures, GIS information, all of this to support increased accountability and participation and address the issues that we are facing as a country, as Carol mentioned, on bridging that trust deficit. The fourth is on beneficial ownership transparency, and this is an advancement of existing work and your leadership and the leadership of the Business Registration Service, Attorney General's Office. We were able to get to a beneficial ownership legal framework, and this now puts us in a situation where we can advance our ambitions around beneficial ownership so that the ownership of institutions and the people behind the contracts becomes less invisible as part of our efforts to build trust and accountability. Our fifth commitment is on open contracting. Again, this is an advancement of work that has been going on. We'd like to recognize the advancements that have been done already by the National Treasury, the work that is being currently done around the Electronic Government Procurement System, EGP. This commitment brings a global standard on open contracting to the EGP system to make the data more available, more consumable, and also to bring around more stakeholders on the public procurement transparency framework. So this is an important commitment, just as the others are, but it does build on very strong gains that have been made in the recent years. The sixth one is on public participation, legislative and fiscal openness. This is some of it is an existing commitment that we've worked on over the years with the leadership of Mzalendo and the Senate. It has some very ambitious commitments around putting in place a very strong legal framework for public participation in this country. We currently do not have a national framework for that, and this commitment aims to deliver that. But it goes a bit further and includes fiscal openness in the context of debt transparency. So, Your Excellency, this commitment supports your efforts and efforts of this administration to ensure that the conversation on debt and the amount of money that is in play is not a subject of misinformation, but is subject to evidence that is available. So the transparency around this is going to be an important part for the next few years. And commitment number 7, access to information. We've had great success with access to information because of the OGP. The Access to Information Act was a result of the work done by the OGP community in 2016. This access to information commitment advances this much further by ensuring that the regulations that have been passed, the enabling framework, is now supported by a more ambitious rollout across the country. And this includes the model laws that Carol alluded to and how they are eventually incorporated in our county governments. Our 8th is access to justice. As Carol mentioned, this commitment was birthed out of the COVID crisis. The fact that many couldn't access justice because of the restrictions that had to be in place to save all our lives. However, on the other side of that commitment, we realized that it was actually addressing issues that continued to plague citizens in their pursuit of justice. And this operationalizes the alternative justice system policy and the legal aid framework. And it does aim to bring a bit more accountability and improved financing to the judiciary in order to make sure that access to justice reaches the most vulnerable of our populations, regardless of where they are, using all technologies and approaches that are appropriate. Our 9th commitment in this action plan is on resilience. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of what I've talked about can sound very nice and very beautiful and probably be done within a year, and then we all go back to default settings. The access to justice commitment and the beneficial ownership and open contracting, a lot of these commitments have made it this far because they had an enabling framework around them. The government resilience, building open government resilience commitment ensures that we are not just putting in place commitments on paper, but we're also putting in place institutions and the legal frameworks and the financing to make sure that we can continuously deliver on the promises we're making in the 5th action plan. Part of this includes the enactment of a framework to put in place a national open government council, and it calls for the gazettement of a number of institutions. And across this 5th action plan, you will find that there are a lot of areas where support is needed from the Parliament of Kenya to make sure that we have the right legislation, to make sure that each one of these things can last beyond us all and serve the generations to come. Thank you very much.
Let's put our hands together for Mr. Nyaga. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, on that matter of resilience, one of the asks from this community or from this program is for the need for sustainability. OGP has been run sort of in a fairly ad hoc fashion with no institutional anchorage, and they are requesting, Your Excellency, that you institute a national OGP council that brings together a range of these stakeholders to be able to provide leadership to the process. Excellency, it's now my pleasure to invite Ed Burnett, who represents Development Partners. He's the Deputy High Commissioner, United Kingdom. You're welcome.
His Excellency, the President, distinguished guests, all protocols observed, good morning. It's a great honor and pleasure to address this gathering today on behalf of the United Kingdom. And congratulations to all on the upcoming launch of Kenya's Open Government Partnership 5th National Action Plan, and on Kenya's co-chairship of the partnership this year. The UK was a founder member of the Open Government Partnership, as we have heard, established in 2011. Open governments are vital to any democracy and ensure citizens are best served by those they elect. The presence of Your Excellency the President, senior members of the Government of Kenya, and the number of partners in this room is testament to the importance and convening power of this partnership. And I can assure you all that the Open Government Partnership has had a really positive impact on the UK government and how it delivers for the people of the UK. To give one example, as a result of the partnership, all new central UK government contracts and tenders worth over £10,000 are placed on a single website, enabling the public to hold government to account for our spending and performance. In Kenya, the UK is delighted to have supported the development of the 5th National Action Plan and today's launch event. It has been fantastic to work with the government and Mzalendo and many others in this room on this important endeavour. As we have heard, much has been achieved already through the previous 4 national action plans, such as the development of Kenya's beneficial ownership register, a vital tool to tackle corruption and illicit finance. And I'm pleased to see further milestones on beneficial ownership in this 5th National Action Plan. It's now time to focus on implementation of those 9 commitments made. And the UK is supporting key milestones on beneficial ownership, open contracting, and public participation. Improving transparency and accountability is a continual process for all countries. Kenya has the advantage of an already vibrant civil society and a flourishing tech sector to support its journey by improving and innovating service delivery, taking on board feedback, and telling a positive and meaningful story of progress. The recent demands by Kenya's young people highlight the importance of trust between government and those they serve. The United Kingdom's relationship with Kenya is one of close friends, based on shared history, shared interests, and a determination to tackle shared challenges. We recognize the shared challenge of making progress on improved transparency and accountability in government, and we look forward to continuing to work with Kenya to implement the National Action Plan. We're going far together. Asante sana, and congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Panat. Your Excellency, to recognize Her Excellency Cristina Diaz Fernandez, the Ambassador of Spain. Spain is taking over the global leadership of the OGP platform, and so we wanted to especially recognize them on this occasion. It's my pleasure now to invite the Right Honorable Speaker of the Senate, Amason Kingi. Welcome.
Thank you, Piers. Your Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. There's no doubt that the launch of the 5th National Action Plan for the period 2023-2027 marks a commencement of yet another remarkable journey for the transforming service delivery in our country for the benefit of the people of Kenya. This plan represents a crucial step in our country's commitment to transparency, accountability, and citizen engagement. It focuses on key areas such as climate action, digital government, anti-corruption, and civic space, with the aim of fostering a more inclusive, responsive, and resilient government aligned with the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. It is prudent for us to recall that the predecessor, that is the 4th National Action Plan, sought to institutionalize issues relating to welfare and rights of women, peace and security, through policy and ministries, counties, departments, and government agencies. Under the 4th plan, we boldly confronted climate change impacts, violent extremism, gender-based violence, forced migration and human trafficking, and humanitarian disasters with remarkable outcomes. The success in the implementation of the OGP commitment in NAP4 and the continuing interventions provide us with the copybook springboard for implementation of NAP4. Without doubt, therefore, the new plan will enable us to build on the gains and momentum generated through the implementation of the previous national action plans. Your Excellency, allow me to briefly touch on the OGP commitment number 6 and 7, which has just been shown to us, that actually touch on the institution that I do represent, that is the Senate. And OGP commitment number 6 and 7, namely public participation, legislative and physical openness, the plan outlines the major objectives as being to enhance transparency, inclusion, and accountability in the legislative and budget processes, ensuring open and trusting relations between concerned stakeholders. Your Excellency, this commitment is anchored on Article 118 of the Constitution, which declares the Parliament shall facilitate public participation and involvement in the legislative and other processes in Parliament, in the legislative, through its committees and as plenary level. Similarly, Your Excellency, Article 174 of the Constitution, especially on devolution, it advocates for open, democratic, and accountability exercise of power and give the power of self-governance to the people and enhances the participation in the exercise of powers of the state and in making decisions that affect them. Now, to give life to these edits of the Constitution, Parliament has enacted laws and approved policies and guidelines that have elevated the role of the citizen in decision-making and opened government processes and decisions to intense scrutiny. At the chaperone of devolution and Article 96 of the Constitution, the Senate has relentlessly mainstreamed transparency, inclusivity, and accountability in the legislative oversight and budget processes. Members of Parliament and senators working through plenary and House committees have remained diligent in holding county governments and national government and the leadership to account as they discharge their mandates. Your Excellency, one of the pieces of legislation that is extremely key in this regard, especially touching on OGP, on NAP 6 and 7, is public participation. The judiciary, through our courts, have pronounced themselves on this particular issue. The Senate has harvested quite a number of views from the judiciary, from other stakeholders, and through that, the Senate has managed to formulate a piece of legislation called the Public Participation Bill. That bill has gone through all the stages in Parliament. It is now at the second stage in the National Assembly. And I believe that piece of legislation, one passed and assented to by the President, will put to rest the issue of public participation. Your Excellency, if you will recall, 95% of the cases against government that are lying in the judiciary are all about public participation. That the citizens were not given enough time, that the stakeholders were not given ample time to make their case or to contribute to what government intended to do, whether through policy or through law. And I believe, therefore, that once that piece of legislation is passed, we will see very minimal, if any, cases being taken to the judiciary. Again, under OGP NAP number 7, that is access to